Welcome to The Gap, where it's our mission to bridge the gap between javelin and baseball training styles.
I'm Brett Hart, coach at Grind Athlete Performance and founder of Hitman Performance.
I'm Dan Labadia, javelin coach at Southern Connecticut State University and the man behind Jacked Javelin.
Hope you guys enjoy the show.
We didn't even write anything on the board.
We're freestyling. We going, baby.
All right.
Locked in.
All right, so in this video, This is a video, not a podcast.
We're back to the pod.
All right, in this podcast, we are back here with Brett, and we got Zach with us today, our producer. We're gonna be testing out, pulling up some footage here on the TV, talking about it as we go along to make the podcast a little bit more interactive with the audience. So, what we're gonna be watching today is specifically Adam Archuleta's training with Jay Schroeder, which is most of what Brett's been posting about recently and talking about that on his Instagram. And that's it's gone pretty viral, helping Brett go from 400 followers to 65,000. So, Brett, talk a little bit about this video, what intrigued you about it, and what you've learned from it so far.
It's actually funny, you sent me this video about 2 months prior to when I actually decided to make an Instagram post about it. So it's funny how everything kind of trickled down into effect of I get the Angus Instagram book. I focus on trying to post every single day for 90 days straight. And then all of a sudden I'm 3 weeks in, I'm running out of ideas to post. I'm like, what was that video you sent me 2 months ago? I want to go back and watch it. Then I end up watching it, taking some clips of it of the lower body plyometrics, and it ends up getting close to 7 million views. And then my Instagram goes from 1,500 and to now just past 67,000. And I think that's because a lot of the explosive dynamic exercises that you see Archuleta do with Jay Schroeder kind of just fell out of place in the fitness world the last 10 to 15 years. A lot of that dynamic explosiveness, because a lot of people are more focused on just the squat, bench, deadlift, sprint, jump, throw, trying to oversimplify it and then not really get into the weeds of what can actually be achieved through just what type of training model you can use. And Jay Schroeder really boils down to what it is, lower body, upper body, the history behind it in this one video that we have playing behind us. And just to see how this kid had no chance of even making the NFL when he first started training, and then working 6 years with Jay Schroeder, being able to transform to being able to play 7 years in the NFL. And I get a lot of negative comments about him saying he was a bust or he wasn't very good and he just had freak numbers. But those freak numbers are what got him into the NFL for 7 years. I feel a lot of those people that are talking smack, they've never played a down of their life, even collegiately, might not even have played varsity high school football. So being able to achieve the highest level of the best athletes of all time in that era, of him able to just be able to do that through just physical preparation, of being able to train his way into the NFL, that's what really sparked my interest in it and wanted me to get into more of the training modalities of what he was using to do that.
Yeah, and I've adapted a lot from this style of training as well. As we know, Jack Javelin Fast Twitch is coming out within the next 4 to 6 weeks, and that's all of that program's focus is the drop catch and a lot of those unilateral movements and stuff, instead of just sticking to the bilateral bench, squat, deadlift. We're doing a lot more with the drop catches, with the explosive reps, plyometrics, upper and lower body, but then also a lot in the unilateral stance. And so one thing that I see a lot in the javelin world, especially in America, is, we have the big lifters, and then we have people that talk about static mobility all the time and do static mobility all the time. And then what is going to bridge the gap between the static mobility and the quote unquote powerlifting strength? And so, there comes a point where Olympic lifting's not enough, right? You're not, you're a squat a snatch and a clean is great for explosive stance or explosive strength, but again, it's in the bilateral stance, and then you're not really getting it as much with the upper body as well. And there's just so much more that you could do with it, and so many different muscles that you can train with the fast twitch style movements that are outside of just the Olympic lifts. And really putting a heavy emphasis onto the running and the plyometric work, which is more of a European style, I would say, for in terms of javelin training. I think that's super important, because a lot of collegiate javelin is just bench, squat, deadlift, and then do a lot of crazy mobility, but we don't really know why we're doing this mobility and we don't really know how it's going to help us in the sport. Where you see these fast twitch plyometrics that are being used here, that's how, in Jay's mind, that's how that translates better to the sport, is by doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, something that was very interesting from Pete Arroyo, or I could be mispronouncing his last name, but Pitch Strength on Instagram, that he talked to Jay and he was able to have conversations with him about.
Call.
He had the call. No, it's not. That was a different guy. That was Dak. But he was able to have conversations with him to explain like what was like his training like ideas behind it. But Archuleta didn't run a single sprint or do any type of Olympic lifts. It was all split switches, the Russian lunges, like super fast, like firing the hip flexors as much as possible. You see him doing like RFE split squat isos, the Nordic hamstring curls, the GHD, being able to be explosive and strong in the muscles that are primarily the main movers of sprinting and jumping, whether that be the hamstrings, the glutes, the hip flexors, the core. And then he had the record, I think he still holds the record for safeties for the bench press, doing 31 reps at 225 at 212 body weight. Like, that's insane. And the ESPN clip did say he squatted over 600 pounds and bench 500. Couldn't find that footage. I don't know how accurate that is. That could be just gym bro numbers. I don't know if there's a spotter there or how depth was on the squat. You don't really see that. But Jay even says himself, like, this type of training is what happens, like what you need to do when the squat and the bench and the deadlift like can't bring you any further.
Mm-hmm.
Like him squatting 600 pounds, like freaking nature strength already at being 212. Crazy, but him getting the 600 700 isn't what's going to give you a 4.3 40 or a 40-inch vertical. Like, it's this type of training that you're going to need to translate to or transfer to, and then just based off of where he was in his career, like, this is probably what got him to that next level. He had that insane base level of strength. We talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I train a lot of youth athletes. I don't do any of this training with a lot of my youth high school kids simply because they're not strong enough and simply because I don't think they would get anything out of it other than to look cool on Instagram. You need that crazy baseline level of strength first, and then you can use that to build something crazy like this.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with Nevin as well, and Jordan too. Is like with Jordan, like, his bench is like 385 right now, probably gonna hit 4 plates this year at 200-pound body weight, and Nevin is like 210, 215, and he's probably gonna hit like a close to 600-pound squat this year because he's like at like 515 for like 3 right now. And so I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, Nevin's squat is like not really gonna, increasing that's not gonna help his javelin anymore. Jordan's bench going above 4 plates isn't really gonna help his javelin anymore. So we've been doing a ton of these upper body and lower body plyometrics, a lot of the hands elevated push-up plyos and stuff like that. And that's how the fast twitch program is essentially structured, is because that's strong and mobile. My first program, that's how Nevin, Jordan, and I trained for probably the first 3 years. And then it wasn't until last year where I was like, all right, Nevin hit 400, Jordan hit like 365 on the bench. Then I was like, all right, let's go. We started doing drop catch bench. We started doing the impulses. We started doing a lot of more upper body plyometrics, a lot more in the split squat position, doing those plyos on command for speed, front to back, a lot of rebound lateral lunges. And then that's when they went from, 74 to 84 and then 60 to 67. And I'm not saying it had all to do with the training, but it was like we had that baseline strength of the bench, the squat, the deadlift, and all the static mobility. Like, that's how we trained for the first 3 years, and we had such a good baseline there with them that it was like, okay, now I'm like how can we now like progress them past that, right? Because it's just like there's so many different things you can do, but like we said, it's just like finding like the nitty-gritty stuff in their training where it's like, all right, these guys are pretty good at this, like what's it gonna take to get them to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking to some people on Instagram. That's what's the beauty of this, is that I can connect with people that have actually talked to Jay Schroeder, trained with him. I've had other ex-NFL players saying that they did the exact same workouts and how great it was, or like how hard it was, and they could explain a little bit more in depth and giving a lot of This is what got me viral right here. This one. Stop midair. All right. But
Stop in midair.
Stop in midair, Archuleta. Come on, baby. You gotta want it. You gotta want it. But like being able to hear those guys and like that have been in contact with Jay and how he talks and how he goes about his training. Like Archuleta spent probably the first 2 or 3 years of just like the foundation phase before he was able to do any of this stuff. So like the depth drop, landing into the split squat, it says like very advanced, don't do it. Same thing with the drop catch bench, like the crazy plyo push-ups that he's doing. Like all this is, I would label as advanced. Like, and a lot of it would be like extremely advanced, like probably for the top 1% of the 1% of athletes that are the grinders, freak athletes that want to get this next level. But they would spend years of doing foundational work of like the extreme iso lunge, being able to hold it for 5 minutes, a deep push-up iso, being able to hold it for 5+ minutes, like the dead hangs, the GPP work that they were doing, and like this, I was going back to like the 500-pound bench, 600-pound squat, and like the years of being able to have proper movement patterns ingrained in, so all the work actually will translate a little bit more effectively. So think of it as like, don't think of like the foundation phase as like easy. Like that stuff that they did to prepare your body for this stuff was very hard from the people that I've talked to that are willing to share their experience with it. Like a 5-minute extreme iso lunge building up to it is very difficult.
Yeah. And
a lot of athletes can't even hold a minute before they want to tap. So that right there alone will weed out millions of people. If you tell them you have to get a 5-minute split squat iso before you can do this, it just like, you would quit before you even get there, or you would try to rush this and get to it too soon, and then that's when your hip flexors start to like flare up. That's what happened to me. Honestly, doing programs like this, I don't think I was prepared enough for it. Just in my hip flexors or the unilateral stance that we talk about, like I was able to hold a 3-minute split squat, but their level of standard was just a lot higher to just make sure to check off all the boxes so you don't get hurt doing stuff like this. And I think that can kind of tail into like the Mr. Miyagi style of things, of like that foundation phase will be like the wax on, wax off. A lot of it will be like, why am I doing this? But you have to stay the course and stay it for long enough to actually do the cool stuff of like what you see in his pro day of him running his 3-cone at like a 6.3. His 5.10.5 was a 3.87, I believe. And you can always check. I have all these posts on my Instagram, so if any of these numbers are off a little bit, just double check it with it. But like, he put up freakish numbers that we haven't seen, and especially for who he was in high school and college and how he transformed from a linebacker to safety, kind of unheard of, and then how he just jumped athletically in those 1995 to 2001, like that span of time of how he just became a freak athlete out of nowhere through this style of training. Again, a lot of the hate comments that I do get are about like his use of testosterone or TRT or HGH or steroids. They're saying he was just the juiced up dude. No proof of that. I don't doubt it. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't be able to tell you. I would like to think that it was the training, but obviously I'm not going to do any drug tests on him. But a lot of the Soviets and everything were accused of that as well. And they've watched Rocky IV. You know what happened there. We still won, though. We still beat the Russian. But yeah, so like you can hate to hate, but you can't take away the level of dedication and training that this guy put in to achieve the results that he had. Like you can take TRT and sit on your couch and you still wouldn't sniff the NFL field. So yeah, I think there's a lot to say in his style of training.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much that goes into it that no one's ever really gonna truly understand and comprehend until you try to go do that thing. With Jay, like, did Jay attract any other high-level athletes to work with him after? Because I know you posted this video of Troy Polamalu also doing some of this stuff, but he was doing it with another coach. So, like, did Jay end up training anyone else significant?
So Jay has a training facility, like EvoSport Fit.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not exactly sure where it's out of. I forget off the top of my head. But, like, you've trained hundreds of thousands of athletes potentially, but none of which that had the progress that Archuleta had. So I don't think he gets a lot of fame for those types of people. He has an app which I did sign up for, and I didn't really do anything. I just bought it to look at it, and I unsubscribed immediately because I was just curious to see what it is. But I was hearing about from that Pitch Strength Pete Arroyo that he's an OG. So I'm really grateful to have him in my comment section commenting about stuff.
Power Plus.
Yeah, Power Plus got everything. So Power Plus does the Marinovich system. So everything you see from Power Plus originally came from Marv Marinovich, and then Marv Marinovich's son, which is what he's actually known for, was he was trying to create a 5-star QB from birth, giving it like the perfect diet, perfect weight training program, perfect this, perfect that, very good, fizzled out during college and professional, because once you have a kid corralled like that for years, and then you give him freedom going out to the adult world of college and the professional life, that's when you like to party. That's when you start going off the rails a little bit. And then he kind of tanked his own career with drug use, alcohol abuse, like stuff like that.
No way.
So his
What a
project
It's a
was a
devastating
failure.
story.
His project was a failure, but his training system wasn't in Troy Polamalu's.
It was more of like a mental failure, though.
Yeah, so when you corral somebody like for that long and everything is perfect, and then they don't know how to resist temptation because it's never been in front of them. So you have 18 years of your life where you're fed exactly what you need to eat. Like there's nothing else in the house to have. Like you don't have anything in your head saying don't have the cookie, have the cookie. There's no cookies to begin with. And there's nothing about the training. The training is completely regimented every single day. And football practice, everything is laid out for you. So when you get to college, when you're on your own and you don't have somebody there 24/7 monitoring you, you're going to fall off eventually. And then once one time you fall off, you don't know how to stop because you can't make that dissociation in your head saying this is good, this is bad. You're just going to say this is sick because I've never been able to do this before. And then you just go off the rails. It's like if you never drank before and you have one drink, this is sick. You keep drinking 8 beers and then you're like, and then you feel terrible the next day. I'll never do that again. But you learned. So you probably either one, go the way of being able to control it, or two, being able, I like the feeling of partying better. I don't care how I feel the next day. So he probably fell in that boat of being able to just want to party and have fun. And when you're making pro money, before college was doing NIL, but he was on the Raiders, I believe. I think he was the Raider. I think he made it to the Raiders. And he was the second or third. Yo, look that up, Jamie. But I think he was. I think he was a first round pick for either the Raiders or I think he was a pretty high pick, and he was. We want to talk about busts. Yeah, Todd Marinovich. So when he talked
for 30 about him.
Yeah, because his story of it was crazy.
So I mean, he did make it to the NFL though.
Yeah, but his experiment, Marv's experiment, was to make him the best. So he didn't make it.
Yeah, but it's like, dude, to think about like predicting the fact that like what was Marv? But did Marv play anything?
I don't think Marv played anything. I think he was just one of those people that were just really into the exercise, kind of like Jay. I have a story about Jay Schroeder I want to get into because I learned about his backstory a little bit, but I'll save it for a little bit later if you want to ask. But Marv, I think is like those guys of like a what?
He was taken in front of Brett Favre.
He was taken in front of Brett Favre. Yes.
That's crazy. That's like me trying to like breed my son to be the best javelin thrower ever, which is like possible, but like I don't know. Like I mean, my genetics are decent, but
yeah. See, serious substance abuse.
I don't know if you know what I mean. Like, how can you predict that? Like, if
what usually happens is when parents live through their kids and you push something on them so hard is that they'll grow up looking to resent it in any way, shape, or form. So if Todd was told the entire time to be in the straight and narrow and be the sober person that didn't party, like be the complete opposite, once you get a taste of it, you're going to be like, my dad took me away from all this fun. I'm going to do this to screw him over. And then it doesn't become about you anymore. It becomes about like a revenge thing, which is very likely that could have happened. And then you can see it a lot of training athletes. If the parent is just like helicopter all over them all the time, they're going to fall out of love with the sport. They're not doing it for the sport. They're doing it so their parents get off their back. So it's very possible that could have been that case. I don't know the exact story. I haven't watched the 30 for 30 in a long time. I did watch it though in high school because I thought it was crazy. But yeah, that was Marv. Marv, his training with Troy Polamalu was the same thing he did with Todd. And if you want to look at training now, that same system, Power Plus on Instagram, does the same thing of like all like the extremely fast twitch. It's the same mindset of what Jay does of training the central nervous system to respond almost instantly. So being able to start and stop on a dime as fast as you can. Like one of the big things of Troy Polamalu that he said that I really liked is that I don't have to think about being fast. I'm just fast.
Yeah.
So it eliminates that thought of like mechanics or anything of like foot strike or like having to think about like chasing somebody down. He just does it. It's a natural reaction to him. Well, and that's what this training allows.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about in javelin is relaxed is smooth is fast down the runway. And that's the whole thing with Jan Zelezny is like Jan Zelezny built up the ability to run a sub 22 second 200 meter dash, which for a javelin thrower is crazy. And so then when he's going down the runway, and he's going at his relaxed 80%. His relaxed 80% is still really, really fast. So that was like his whole thing is like, yeah, he's like he's more of a technical thrower, but he's a speed thrower. Like, he's definitely not a power thrower. He's not big, but he's the world record holder because he was a technician, but because he was built like a speed thrower and he was so fast, even though like he possessed all those speed thrower physical capabilities, and like he was flying down the runway, but to him it was like he was able to be super relaxed. Like, you look at his face and he's just super, super like calm, you know?
Yeah, a lot of the great sprinters have that quality of being able to be extremely relaxed but violent at the same time. It's like controlled aggression. I think Pat Davidson had that, like that saying of just being able to be as aggressive as possible and control and relax.
Well, I just looked it up because you were talking about it, like subconsciously about being the cross extensor reflex.
Cross extensor?
I recall reading in my days of exercise science.
Pull it up.
Talking about the resentment of the parents.
Sort of. No. We're going to use the AI rationale. But it's a spinal cord reflex for sprinting.
Oh.
The cross extensor reflex. A reflex that occurs when the body compensates for a loss of
Something
support
around
on
one
one
leg
side.
immediately thinks.
The body by extending the opposite limb.
Yeah. So think about like sprinters, the relaxation.
Fire.
That's
like, because I was doing those split squat switches for speed, the ones where you're doing it not for distance but for like front to back for speed. Yeah. And like, you see how they're not just going like back and forth like a sprint on the wall. You know how there's a sprint on the wall where you're doing the pause ones?
Yeah.
You go like on
the
command.
switches.
Yeah. So I was having a kid do those, and I was like, you're going to go, pause, and then when you set, go again, but then pause, and then reset and go again. And he was kind of going like medium speed and then just going continuous. And I was like, no, like pause. So the total set will be the same amount of time, but like make each individual rep faster. But then when you switch, pause. And then when you go again, make that rep as fast as possible, and then pause, reset, so on and so forth. And then like with Jordan, I get a little bit more complicated with him and go more like on command and stuff like that, just to kind of use his brain a little bit more.
Yeah, the split squat switches are important to try to teach them how to, like a lot of them don't use their hip flexors at all. A lot of it's just because it's underdeveloped or it might just be extremely tight or just not strong at all. But you see them skip and like their knees don't come up in front. They kind of just will just bring their heel up, and it looks like a flamingo almost. It's like every skip just looks like they're just kicking their butt. Everything looks like a butt kick. Like the knee and the foot don't come up in front at all when they're doing any type of skip or switch. And then when they're doing their split squat lunges, they collapse almost immediately, or the back leg they'll just stand up. They won't be able to sink down into the bottom, or the RFE split squat. They're not able to get low enough because like their back hip flexor is just so tight. The limiting factor isn't even the front leg a lot of the times when they're doing split squats. It's the back leg of the tightness of their front of their hip. And I deal with a lot of baseball players, so I don't know if it has something to do with the sport of them being able, like, hitting all the time, being in that type of rotation, throwing, being able to plant hard into one leg. Like, I don't know if you see it with your guys, if like one side is just completely tighter than the other, or if their hip flexors are just extremely weak. But for the majority of athletes that I have, like that's the hardest thing for them to do. It's like being able to just hold their knee up at 90 degrees and keeping their posture tall. They just, it's really hard for them to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's like, even with the unilateral strength, like you see all the stuff like right now, even on the screen. They're
There's
doing
the RFEs right there.
They're doing the RFEs right now, and so we did a cycle last month where everyone was doing front squat on Thursday after we did back squat on Monday. But Nevin's like back hip trail extension, or Nevin's trail leg mechanics are like awful when he throws. His knee like clutches forward like crazy and then also twists to the side, and then he doesn't get the top of his foot on the ground. And so I've been having him do a lot of technical drills to focus on that as well, but that's one thing that we did with the reverse lunge in the weight room was I had him do the reverse lunge, and that's a big thing that Dr. Heenan talks about is like the reverse lunge helps that lunge position and your trail leg mechanics, because a lot of times when people have that trail leg that buckles forward instead of like staying back and getting that full internal hip rotation, that causes them to it just shows that they have like a muscle imbalance. And so when they're stable enough in that lunge position is when you're able to keep the back leg behind you. But when you're not stable in that position, your legs are like your front leg is going to want to buckle down and back, and your back leg is going to want to buckle forward and come forward without staying back. But when you're strong in that split squat position, you're going to be able to keep that split, that throwing split like nice and strong, and then have that like big donkey kick follow through. So that's something that we've been working on with him, and it's not like it's not an automatic fix, but it's definitely something that he got a lot better at as the program went on, and you could see that when his right leg was forward, because he's a right-handed thrower, so he's used to having his left leg forward. When he blocks, his right side was much, much worse.
This actually reminded me of something that I was talking to that guy at Pitch Strength again about, like the split squat isos. Is they don't go longer than like 10 or 15 seconds each rep, like for a split squat iso. He was talking to Jay about it because like the long duration isometrics during training, he was saying that like not the foundation phase, like their peak phase of going into like the crazy stuff that you see him doing, they won't go longer than 15 because then it gets to the point of diminishing returns and you're kind of just wasting time. In his opinion, like you don't need to go that long. You can save time and get the same effect by holding it shorter, but making the contraction more aggressive, or just having your mind into it, not being as a passive with it. But then the foundation is when you go the longer duration, because your goal isn't to fire the hip flexor as fast as possible. It's to make it just durable enough and build up enough capacity for it to have the bandwidth to be able to do the fast switches or the depth drops and the stuff that you see him do. So off season is when you would apply like the long duration isometrics, and the short and like preseason, in season is when they go the Verkhoshansky route of they don't go long duration isometrics. They go short max contractions of like 10 to 15 seconds where you're pulling the front leg, pulling the back leg in, really trying to hold and feel that position fire.
I love doing those because I'm the same way with like...
You also just hate going for a minute, so that's why you probably love those ones.
Well, no, but the thing is though, is like that's me now, but when I was in that phase with, you know, the first like 2 years when Nevin, Jordan and I trained together every day, we were in that, you know, because we were running mobility ability from Kevin Foster, and then we were running the strength program that I wrote. So it was literally just jack, javelin, strong, and mobile for 3 years. And the first 2 years, that was a big thing that Kevin had, was like you start with like a minute iso hold on each side or 30 seconds, and then every day add 15 seconds until you get to 5 minutes. And we did that every day. So we would do iso lunge holds for 6 days a week, and we would try to get up to 5 minutes. And like we did it at one point, and it was just crazy on how like it was crazy how good we got at it by the end of it. And then but it's also crazy how fast you lose the ability.
Yeah.
But that was a major link that I realized when I had my lower back pain, my QL on my left side from hitting the block when I threw, was because my hip flexor was weak. And so when I started targeting my psoas, like with the kettlebell, from a pull-up bar or just lifting it in general, doing the psoas dips, and then, you know, the psoas pulls with the band on your foot, when I started targeting those, and then, you know, that's when I noticed a lot of improvements, and also doing like a couch stretch and pigeon and stuff like that. But just that ability to not only be mobile but strong as well in that hip flexor was huge. So I had kind of that same problem as you, but what I actually ran into was when I would do reverse lunge, I started getting plantar fasciitis in my foot because of the way that the foot is in that like loaded dorsiflexion position, and you're like pushing
on the
off,
trail leg.
Yeah, and you're like pushing off your toe, putting a lot of stress on the plantar fascia to get back up. That's why now when I try to do it, I try not to go to the point where it's so heavy that I'm like leaning back and then having to push myself forward. I almost want to be able to, like, I'm trying to come up like straight vertical. That way it's like less stress on the arch of the foot.
Like more of a split squat almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Just because like going fully like down and then like trying to like push the foot up to get back forward it just flares it up all the time. And it's one of those things where, like, if I had done a program with, like, a lot of progressive, like, pogo hops and isometric lunge hold, heel elevated, like, before I went into a program like that, I probably would have been fine. But it's because I entered that phase, like, in a program when I just kind of, like, wrote it without preparing for it ahead of time. And, like, I had done it a lot, but I was probably, like, a year out of actually, like, doing pogo hops every day and doing, like, the little stuff every day that would have avoided that type of injury, you know?
Yeah, it's very easy to go into stuff like this that, like, you just want to get into it right away and thinking you're more prepared than you actually are. And then you get 3 weeks into it and you're like, damn, I'm not prepared at all to sprint 3 times a week at 40 plus yards every other day. Like, my hamstrings are really sore and nothing might be coming out of this that is good. So I should probably take a week off. So you don't prepare at all. And I think we might be the only ones that have that issue of just loving seeing, like, something and wanting to implement it right away. Like, how fast did you implement reverse lunge after you talked to Heenan?
Like, immediately.
Yeah, see? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same way. As soon as
Yeah.
I saw this, I went right and tried to do the split squat jumps and everything. Like, I felt fine because I was doing that before. And, like, I had a couple people ask me for, like, programs similar to this. The most similar program I've seen was Racehorse 2 by Workhorse Training. And that was about, I think it was 8 weeks. I think I made it 6 weeks before my hip flexor blew up. So definitely take a good 3 to 4 months of preparation before you attempt that program. Just from previous experience. I did do well on it, though. I did PR almost everything, which was pretty cool. Even the bench. I didn't really go heavy on bench, and I PR'd my 225 rep. I got +1 reps on it without ever really testing it for those 6 weeks. It's like my hip flexor shot, so I might as well bench. It was shot for a while. But I was doing a lot of the stuff. I was drop catch. I got up to 185 for 5 drop catch bench. I just didn't go heavier than that because I was kind of scared too, to be
I
honest.
think my max is like 275
Just drop it right in the chest.
for one.
And then, but all the push-up drop catches, like the extremely fast, like upper body stuff, I think a lot of people just don't do. I think you still need a really good baseline of strength before you can do any of that. Like, if you can't do, like, your body weight for a couple reps on bench or, like, at least 15 to 20 solid push-ups, like, you shouldn't be doing stuff like this. Like, you won't even leave the floor. Like, if you can't do 10 good push-ups, banded plyo push-ups might not be it for you. Like, you should focus on getting a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of how heavy you are, like, you should be able to do, like, I think 30 to 40 good solid push-ups.
Well, that's what I was telling you about Tyson, was when, like, Tyson saw me posting, like, the shorts for the fast twitch program, like, on my YouTube.
Yeah, you wanted to do it?
And he was trying to do, like, drop catch RDL. And I was like, yeah, you could do them today, like, if you want. But I'm like, realistically, like, bro, I'm like, you just need to run strong and mobile, like, 5 more times.
He's like, bro, you just learned what an RDL was last month. You're not doing drop catch RDL. Like, I didn't start. I never. The best RDL I ever did was, I think I did 405 for 3 when I was at Cressy's, and so, like, my RDL was pretty solid already, and I knew how to do the movement, and I never really attempted the fast catch ones for like a year after that. So I was still doing the RDL. I love the RDL. It's my favorite deadlift variation. But it's like, when I first did it with the bands, I still went extremely light. So I was able to do 405 for 3. I did 95 with the red bands, like the red Elite FTS bands. So not that heavy load, but I just fired up the speed of how I attempted the lift. And the next 2 days, my hamstrings were shot. Like, they were so sore. Like, the extremely rapid, fast, eccentric cooked them. It was very similar to, like, how sprinting feels with my hip flexors. Like, that's the closest thing I've seen to, like, the fast drop catch. Like, the squatting and the RFE ones that I did, like the fast drop catch ones, like, don't really get my legs like that. But the drop catch RDL, if you do it with bands, like, be prepared to be a little sore.
Yeah. You know which one I like a lot too is not even for, like, strength, but more of, like, for a coordination standpoint, is the RFE rotational partner med ball scoop toss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is like you're putting your left leg forward, your right leg back, and then you're doing a scoop toss to your partner across your body, and just going up and down, like catching it at the top, like while you're on your way down, and then coming back up and then throwing it. It's like one of those things too where, like, if you're a pitcher or a javelin thrower and you're going to be in that lunge position anyway, Like, you might as well be as athletic as you can in that position. And that's kind of the argument I make for a lot of these split squat plyometrics is like, you know, it's not that there's, it's not that you can't throw far with the bilateral stuff, but I just think that like having that unilateral strength is just so important. And it's like, you know, you might as well just be as comfortable in there as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I tell kids all the time, like, they want to throw 90, they want to throw hard, but they can't hold a split squat for more than 30 seconds without falling over or losing balance. Like, how can you expect, like, you might be able to throw 90, but how you expect your body not to break down doing something like that if you're just so weak you can't maintain positions? Like, you might be able to get away with it a couple times, but you top out at 90 and then you get your arm hurt and then you sit 78. Who cares you top 90? Like, if you throw 100 pitches in a game, one of them's 90 and 99 of them are 76 to 78.
Yeah.
Like, congrats, you got a bad reading on the radar gun one time.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is pretty consistent. So you're not helping yourself trying to chase velo all the time. And I just see that a lot with the baseball world, with like the pull downs and just wanting to like do too much too fast. What we were just talking about with the programming, we're the same way in the weight room. Like, a lot of these kids are the same way in their sport. Like, they just see like the really light drive line ball and they're like, how fast can I throw this? And then they're like, wow, why does my elbow feel so strange the next day? Like, my elbow feels funny. Like, dude, what do you mean? You just did 100 max effort throws with the lightest ball. Like, what do you expect? Yeah. And you weren't prepared to do it at all. So, like, a lot of kids will see that with the sport. And that's a small population of the baseball, though. A lot of the baseball world, too, is still a little on, like, I don't want to say the softer side, but the more cautious side. Like, a lot of them are a little bit more scared or a little bit more cautious of wanting to push the envelope a little further. And then those are the kids you got to push. And then we have a very few amount of kids that we have to reel back in of like, dude, you need to just stop doing stuff for like 3 days. Like, please take the weekend off. It's like, what about my mobility routine? And like, pick it back up Monday, bro. Like, you got to take 3 days off. Dude. Like, you are just so into it right now. Like, and then you have the other kids that don't do anything besides show up once a week for an hour. I think they're going to get better. So trying to find the mixture of the two athletes is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's really tough with our group at SCSU right now, just because like we have Nevin and Jordan who are super dedicated. They're 5 hours a day. And then, like, the younger group is, like, still learning and kind of, like, not really sure, like, because they're not really sure, like, all right, when should we do, like, extra versus when is it, like, overtraining? And, you know, a lot of them kind of just do, like, what I tell them and go home, which is fine. But they're just not at that level of buy-in yet. And it was funny because the other day, one of the smaller kids, the freshman, came up and was like, yeah, you know, I feel like my technique has made a lot of progress, but I feel like I'm still not like nearly as powerful as I could be. Like, do you mind if I spend more time like throwing the overweight implements and stuff like that and like med balls to produce more power? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then Jordan, because Jordan was there when he asked, and he was like, yeah, and you know what, too? Like, if Dan doesn't have you do it that day, guess what you could do? Grab one, stay after, and do it anyway. And the kid just looked at him and was like, wait, I could do that? And Jordan's like, yeah, I do it all the time. It's like, if you want... It's like, look, you see the program he wrote? I add 5 sets and I'm maxed out every day.
Like, 5x5 at 72%. I'm maxing out. I all I read was heavy single. All I read
thought that was the minimum.
I thought that was the warm-up sets leading up to my 1RM bench.
Well, I mean, like, listen, in the weight room, I get on them about that more because there's like more of a structure to it. But if it's something like say, you know, like next week, we're training like 2 days and then going on like Thanksgiving break. One of the days is going to be like an approach work day. If you want to like get some more med ball throws or some plyo ball throws like before we go like on break, like just because it's not on like the paper that day, like doesn't mean you can't do it. You know, it's stuff like that where like, you know, especially if we have like a very technical day, I try to err on the side of caution with throwing, you know, especially in the fall because our training volume's so high. So I'm like, all right, we're not going to like overdo it. But, you know, so like 2 days of the week, we're going to be more like technique focused. And then 2 days are approach. And then like one day we kind of let them get after it on the runway. And so it's like our intensity in the actual throwing stuff isn't that high. But if you feel good and you feel like, you know, you can handle a little bit more extra like weighted ball throws and medicine balls, it's like, try to produce a little bit more power, like, yeah, we'll throw it in. But I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's not gonna hurt. I mean, that was like the kid that I was referencing when I was saying like to take like the 3 days off. We started off with, can I do 5 minutes extra mobility? I'm like, yeah. It's like, and then it started with, hey, check out this Instagram video that I saw. Like, what do you think of this drill? And I go, this one's good, that one stinks, that one stinks. Do this one. Like, do those two. Like, don't do the other ones. Like, I don't like those. And he's like, all right. And it was the 5 minute one turned to 10 minutes. And then he comes back being like, what do you think of these? And then the 10 minutes turns into 20 minutes. And now he's here for an extra hour. He's now doing just all mobility stuff that he's seen on Instagram that he's made me check off of like what's good, what's bad. So he just keeps sending me stuff. And then I'm like, dude, just because I said they were good doesn't mean you have to do them all in the same day. And he's like, where am I supposed to do it? Because he would stay for the lift and then do an hour of mobility. His dad's like, dude, where are you? He's like, I'm doing my 20 minutes mobility. It's been half an hour. It's been an hour. And so it's like those athletes are like great to have. But I was actually thinking this thought when I was driving up to the conference. I was listening to a Chris Williamson podcast, and it reminded me, I think it was with him and Matthew McConaughey. It wasn't Hormozy this time. All right, it's a different podcast. But I know we do reference Hormozy a good amount here, but it does
more
tie
off
into
camera than on camera.
More off camera. But this Modern Wisdom. That's it. The only two podcasts, and Mindful Reps. Mindful Reps. Don't forget. But
JRE.
Huberman.
But so like that kid that I was saying, he was staying for mobility, doing all the extra work. His brother, he has a brother, the complete opposite of him. He'll come in, he'll do whatever the hell he's told to do, and then he'll leave immediately. But he is the better athlete. I hate to say it, like he is the guy that it comes more naturally to him. It's more fluid. He doesn't force anything. He is just the better athlete. It made me think of Nevin and Jordan. Like Nevin is very analytical and will try to figure out everything
on his own,
as much as he possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jordan's like, fuck it, what are we doing today?
Yeah. Dude, literally, bro, ask me every day, like, what's on the schedule? And I'm like, dude, like, we've been doing the same routine for 3 months. Like,
he's like, all right, I'll grab my spear.
Literally, like, I told him, I was like, yo, you should start trying to, like, know what you're doing. Not, like, for me, I don't care. But, like, if people ask you, like, our head coach, like, if he asks you, like, what are you doing today? Like, you should know to be able to tell him, you know?
I mean,
and he was just like, nah, that's your job.
It's like, nah, Dan's got it. But, like, what I was going back with the podcast is that they're saying the two types of people in the world, and I related it to athletes in my head of like the type A and then type B personalities. Like type A is the imperfect perfectionist, or like the guy that's just super anxious that wants to get everything right and make sure everyone thinks he's perfect or is doing everything the right way. Like the super hard workers, the people that listen to Alex Hormozy and in the Modern Wisdom podcast, the exact demographic that they're talking to, are like the people that want to do better for themselves. And then you have the type B that are much more relaxed in a sense of like they know how to chill out. They'll do their work. They'll show up to their 9 to 5. They don't want anything else. They're good. Yeah. They'll do their 9 to 5. They want their extracurriculars. So that's where you go back and forth. But what we can take from each one is like the type B personalities could learn a little bit from type A of when to push themselves, when to do things a little bit more, like take things a little bit more seriously. And then when type A, they struggle a lot with burnout or being overly stressed or anxiety because they don't know when to relax or when to take time off. So I was relating to those two kids, the brothers, like the one kid, the type A doing the extra mobility, he needs a couple of days off. He needs to rest. He needs to relax. The type B, his brother is more of a natural athlete. He needs to just get kicked in the ass a couple of times and make sure he shows up 3 times a week to lift. He needs to be pushed a little bit more to show up. The other kid, he's showing up 6 times a week, regardless how much sessions he's paying for. He's showing up to do the work. Like, it doesn't matter. He'll go in the office to do mobility. It doesn't matter. But like trying to find the balance between the two and understanding what type of athlete that you have, of like when to like push the tempo a little bit and give them that like not even motivational speech, being like, dude, listen, like you need to do this, or the other way of like you need to chill out a little bit, take a couple of days. So I thought it was interesting. Like Pat Davidson also has the Goggins scale that he had on Instagram the one time, of like you have the people that have too much Goggins and the people that not enough Goggins. Like the too much Goggins are the type A's, and then not enough Goggins are the type B's that just sit down, watch Netflix all day, eat ice cream, don't do anything. And then you got the type A Goggins that are just like run through a brick wall, I'll kill you. Like stuff like that. Like you need to meet in the middle somewhere. And like just for longevity's sake, being able to make sure you do this for a long time and to know when to turn like one side or the other.
Yeah.
What were you? You were we were both very type A.
Yeah. Well, I think that
Probably goes for all three.
All three of us were extremely type
Yeah,
A.
well,
We're
I was
not great athletes, but
No, never
we
are.
work super
No.
duper hard.
Dude, when I said this to Connor actually about the two kids, it was like
Yeah.
they was saying how that one kid would work really hard and the other kid just comes naturally. Like, oh, the hard worker's gonna be a great coach one day.
yeah.
He'll
Well,
probably
that's
play
what I was
Division I
just about to
baseball.
say.
Like his brother would probably play Division I baseball. The other kid will be a just phenomenal coach.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens to great athletes. You're never that good of a coach
Yeah. I
because it's just they didn't have to work for anything. They didn't have to figure anything
Jordan was
out.
a terrible coach.
Yeah, so like they
Michael
like,
Jordan.
Yeah, awful.
he was a terrible GM. He wasn't a
Terrible
coach.
GM.
Yeah.
Probably coached a little bit.
Probably,
Yeah,
probably,
well,
you
Suns
there.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely that's what I was gonna go with that too. I was gonna say A is that the type A people are gonna be like the good coaches one day, and then the type B are going to be like the freak athletes, the people that, are just the people that are more relaxed and they're able to kind of like tap into their subconscious flow state a little bit more, like we've talked about. That's the biggest thing for me is like what I learned from Jordan and training around him, being around him was like the ability to just relax a little bit more and just know that it's not like super, super serious and just know that like if you're prepared, like you're not going to be nervous. It's like a lot of times if you're nervous, it's more of lack of preparation rather than, it's just like deep down like what you're capable of. And my other point was just going to be, I think it's harder now because I, for the most part, pick and choose like who I'm around and what kind of content I consume. So I feel like I'm not around too many type B individuals anymore, which is like not always the best because it's like harder for me to identify with that side.
yeah. That's what I was gonna say of like how you were saying you're hanging out with Jordan and it kind of made you like see the other side a little bit. Like when you're like an 18, 19, 20-year-old guy that's just extremely type A, or like even in high school, like you're just super serious about one thing. If someone's not taking it serious and relaxing too much, you're just gonna not listen. Like you are gonna think they are the stupidest, like most useless people in the world. Like you will just completely shut them out of your life, and not even care about anything they'd have to say. Like that's just your ignorance of being like, there's no way that they will ever be successful because they're not working nearly as hard as me. That's the Kobe Bryant's, the Michael Jordans, like that type of mentality of like yelling at them to do stuff. Like I remember yelling at a kid in Springfield, like one of my lifts of we showed up to I'll tell you after, but we showed up to a makeup lift. We were at a conference. We came in the next day. We missed the lift to a makeup. I was doing the whole thing, and he left 20 minutes early. No chance he finished it. I go over to the strength coach. Did he do his whole thing? Strength coach was like, I don't care. It's like, it's his workout. The strength coach literally told me, I do not care. It's his career. I'm like, that's honestly, you look after a lot of teams. That's fair. You can't really care about every single individual. But I remember messaging him immediately after being like, don't even bother showing up to lift if you're not going to do the whole thing. And then we met each other like a Saturday night at like the townhouses outside, hammered. And it was just like, he's having like, dude, I swear I did the whole lift. And I go, dude, I don't care. Just don't do that shit around me. I was like, I just can't see it. Like it does something to me that's just like really like it at the time. I think I'm a little bit better with it now because I kind of get it. But at the time during college, it was like the most infuriating thing to me is like we're gonna be on a team and we say we have one mission that we're gonna be great and we're gonna win and you're skipping stuff to help us do that. Like that fired me up. I'm getting a little fired up right now. Just how bad it was. I'm going back to it, having the flashbacks. But it's like I'm sure you can all relate. Like you two can relate to it, and especially if we have the athletes that listen to it. Like you can tell. Like when you work with high school kids, especially in like a team setting. Like when I went to Notre Dame West Haven, there's one kid that had that fire in him, and then every other kid says they hate that guy. And I could 100% understand why, because he wants the best for every single person. Yeah. He wants the best for himself. He wants the team to win, but he doesn't know how to portray that to the people that don't work as hard as him.
Yeah.
And I was that guy.
I was that guy too.
Could 100%. I can see it a mile away. And like why all the other kids hate him is because they don't work nearly as hard as him. And that's it. But he doesn't know how to like convey that to them of like to do that. Like they think they're working as hard as him, but they're not.
Yeah.
Not even close.
I think that's the biggest reason why football. That's the reason why I didn't get voted captain in high school, was because I was that dude that was just like tapped and everyone around me was just
You? No way, bro.
and just everyone around me was like wasn't on the same level. And I even see it now, like with people that I coach, but then also like other coaches with their careers or their businesses or whatever. And I'm just like, bro, like you could do this. Like if you just do this,
Yeah.
like this is what I'm doing. Like, bro, you got this.
You
Like
sounded like someone we used to work for.
But that's why I think it's important to like keep yourself in rooms with people
Yes.
that are going to keep you in check, because I could see the last like 7 months I've been having a lot of time on my hands. I could see how easy it is to like,
yeah.
wow, I'm going down I was like, I gotta get some sunlight. Like,
This is honestly like I would be going off on tangents like this in the middle of the weight room if it wasn't for this podcast. So this is like a really good.
It's a good escape.
This is a good escape.
escapism.
Like just being able to talk to, because I have no one else like there's no one in my life that you can talk to about like your parents don't give a shit what what fucking Adam Archuleta is doing. Like
It's going off
like,
in the
no one-
podcast.
yeah, no one cares what he's doing. Like during your normal life, no one
Yeah.
cares. Like you find like your close knit group of people that you can talk to and geek out about. That's what social media is great, is you can find other people like that do care about stuff like that. So
Finding your people.
finding your tribe that
Yeah.
Kevin Fowler. No,
Kevin Foster.
Kevin Foster. I was thinking of Grant Fowler. Yeah, Kevin Foster. He's ripping. But he's like he was talking about finding your tribe in the javelin community. Like being like in that, it's just you can see it in the athlete. It's different. It's a different feeling. Like feeling that you need to do more. Like you are better than what you're currently at right now. You're not okay with where you're at. You want to get better. You need to find people like that and to be around them in order to get what you want.
Yeah. And that was even like with Evan and Jordan. I had that conversation with them the first year I was the coach, because I've increased my hours with them every year I've been their official coach. Like the first year was the least amount. Last year was like more like probably 12 hours a week. And then this year now it's like 25 depending on the week. And so my first year when I wasn't there as much, I was like only there when they would do throwing like twice a week, and that was it. I was like, you guys aren't getting any better. Like, when I was around, we would do extra work all the time. Like, what are you guys doing now? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start there. And then like then like they both only improved by 2 meters, and then the next year, they both popped off 7 meter improvement, 10 meter improvement. And like we were even talking about it today, because we had we did a film session today, and kind of just going over some technical things. And they were both like, our junior year is like was the worst year of college, because like we both just didn't get any better. And like I was like, yeah, junior year was a learning lesson, not only for them because they realized that when I was gone they didn't work as hard and they didn't do the extra stuff, that one of them needed to take the initiative to do more of that when I wasn't around. And then I realized that, okay, Jordan threw 72 his sophomore year. I couldn't have the attitude of like, oh, he won the national championship, he's already thrown 72, like that's awesome, like we're just going to keep going at this rate and like he's going to be fine, he's already like the best, right? And then he goes only to 74, and then we start looking at like, okay, we got the Olympic trials next year, like how do we try to get him into the 80s? And that's when I realized like the elite athletes aren't the ones where you're like, oh, they're good. They're the ones that actually need like the most specific attention, the most specific programs. Those are the ones that are going to need like a program like a Jay Schroeder program, because me trying to just give them the same static mobility and the same bilateral strength movements, powerlifting movements that he's done for 4 years already, him improving that stuff isn't going to get him any further at this point. Like, where else could we tap into? And so like that's where we were able to find more of the nitty gritty stuff in his javelin technique and training, and kind of bump it up. And he and Nevin both have taken such tremendous responsibility of like putting in a lot of extra work, and then just understanding the throw and being able to like really talk about training and talk about diet and talk about throwing and understand it like truly.
Yeah, Nevin got to go see the pitching doctor.
Yeah,
Thanks for the doc. But like that was crazy about the about the pitching doctor. He was one of the people that I saw doing the extreme iso lunges, being hooked up to like the stim machines and like getting the feel of it, and then seeing that, and then I thought that was brand new. All the DAC stuff, thought that was like revolutionary. The medicine through movement, Austin Jochum, like they're all doing drop catch stuff all of a sudden now. This is like 2 years ago. Like drop catch was a huge thing. Workhorse was starting. He just finished like his internship at Jochum's, and then became his own like trainer. I don't even know where the hell he's at right now.
I don't know.
It's Minnesota, I think. But,
Edit this out.
Edit this part out. Edit this part out. But
Leave it in. Leave it in.
leave it.
Is that what Rogan says? I don't know. What is that joke from?
We don't
Is
edit.
It
Is it-
isn't a joke. I made it
Oh,
up.
okay. Oh, so that's a gap thing. Okay.
That's a gap.
I didn't know.
Where was I going? Oh, that's why I titled all those
Drop catches and stuff.
Yeah. That's why I was titling all those things, like all those posts on Instagram, what's old is new. It was because I remember seeing all that new stuff, like all these guys, and they were like with the drop catches and the extreme iso lunges, and I didn't really see where they were getting it from. So you kind of just assume like they found something like new and revolutionary, and then you find the video you sent me, and I'm like, this is from 2001.
Yeah.
Like this thing's 20-something, 24 years old, and then you go back even further to the 80s of Rikoshansky, and even possibly the 60s of even further back of like what the Soviet Union was doing, and then how that helped spark West Side Barbell, and like what Louis Simmons was doing with a conjugate style of training, and then where linear periodization came from with all the Olympic lifts, how Zercher deadlifts or like the old school Romanian wrestlers. Like there's such a huge deep rabbit hole you go down. Like everything that like looks fancy, flashy, and new now has been done for like 80 something years. Like this is like it was just mind blowing to go down like watching on every single thing. I was like, I gotta post this, I gotta post that, I gotta post this. I was like, I just gotta post all these things so people can see it, because these YouTube videos are getting like 5,000, 10,000 views. Like they're not getting a lot of views, they got a lot of traction. That Archuleta video that we had playing had 12,000 views when you first showed me it. It has 19,000 now because people did some due diligence to go search for it. But like my one clip has 6 million. The other clip of the upper body has 2 million, and the other one, I don't like the RFE one has almost 1 million. So like, and then the ESPN one has 4 million. So like, you're just getting like tens of millions of people seeing this training now for the first time. Now it's starting to open up their eyes, being like, there's way more to the strength conditioning field that like we give it credit for. And I think the new era of strength coaches are gonna try to find a way to blend that in with old school methods, new school methods, and find a training system that works, that's efficient, that's effective, that can be done for a long period of time with an athlete, training them, whether you want to say like mind, body, soul, or just their body, and get their mind right as well, like however you want to phrase it. Three-headed dragon. As soon as I said it, that's where I went with that. But it's it's just
triangle.
It's the upside down triangle. It's that Springfield method, baby. But no, it's just finding a way to train somebody more than just the physical. Like there's a lot of ways to get intent out of it. Like you can have a great training program, but if you half-ass it, scrolling Instagram between sets, like you will not get a lot out of it. So it's kind of a waste of time for you and your coach. That's how I look at it, and I take it a little personal too when an athlete doesn't try hard at a workout that I gave them.
It's like, you got me fired up now. I was gonna sleep in tomorrow.
Bro's
Hell no.
ripping.
I'm going to the gym now.
It's on fire tonight.
I don't know. I wonder why. All right. We will see you guys next week.
All right. See ya.